Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Sales and Trails. My name's Nick. Thanks for joining me on my flipping adventure. Today I'm in the Gwynedd Valley, just having a sit down next to the brook, and I thought we'd just have a chat. It's been a hard week, just doing an evening walk down to the Gwynedd Valley. I was going to do a lot of these chats in the summer house, but I thought, such a glorious evening, I fancy doing outside. I get all feels of nostalgia right now. It's been 4 or 5 months since I last done my video up here. It's literally on my doorstep and I love it. It feels like it hasn't changed, but it has got greener and it's nowhere near as wet. Yeah, so like I said, it's been a tough week. I'm probably going to do 2 videos down here back to back, because it's such a nice night. I thought, you know what, I think it'd be a nice time to have a couple of beers, sit down, chat and talk, and yeah, just open up a little bit. I'll see you when I get down there. So usually I feel quite positive when it comes to videos, but I've just had this niggling video when it comes to sales, being a reseller. So I thought I'd just explain that in a video, really. So I've got 8 real gripes when it comes to reselling. It's probably more, but these are the ones I can think of off the top of my head. And the first one would be mainly the term, is it available? Is it available? Of course it's available, it's on the site. I just don't understand that. It's the hardest one is when it comes to Facebook. They're always like, is it available? Is this? Is that? And you see a lot of people do leave stuff up and forget to put it down. So it's a slight understanding of it. But along with that, you get the time wasters. You get the people just asking relentless questions and not even really interested in the product. As well as that, then you've got ones that are constantly asking for photos. And I fully do understand that photos are necessary to get them, make sure you've got the right product for sizing. But if it's not my size, I can't show you. I'm just going to measure it and I'm just going to be like, right, it is where it is. That's what returns are for. The biggest gripe at the moment I've got, really, when it comes to it, is watches. I don't mind watches. It shows that people are interested. But at the same time, it's like they expect me to send them a lowball offer of my own product for them to say yes or no. I'd rather them just actually come to me and go, right, this is what I'm willing to actually spend on the item. And if it's not in my range of me making a profit or making a decent margin, I'm going to say no. Or, you know, I'll renegotiate it. But at the same time, you just got people sat there just waiting. Just send me an offer. It is just maddening because I've got people watching all of the items that I've sold, and it would be nice for them just to be like, right, this is what I'm going to offer. I might just send a blanket message to everyone saying, what would you look at, or what are you willing to pay for this item? And I'll see if it's in my ballpark. Because it's getting to that point now where they're just like, just time wasting, you know what I mean? Sorry, I'm getting quite distracted about this place. You know, I do love this area. It's a shame the checkers, the noughts and crosses aren't here. So I'm assuming someone's either taken them, put them into storage, or someone's nicked them. And I'd be very annoyed if they've done that. Anyway, getting back to the topic at hand. Like I said, you know, you got your time wasters. You've got people asking if it's available, watches. The next thing for me really is the people going and proper undercutting what you've put up as a price. Don't get me wrong, sometimes you get your pricing wrong, and that's usually where the market sort of value is. But I've had people coming in for items over half off pricing, you know, they're looking at about 60% off, and then I check their profiles, and they're actually selling the very same sort of things. And you're thinking, well, are they trying to undercut me to resell it to make more money? Like, don't undercut the reseller. We're not going to allow you to have the item. It's as simple as that. Unless we really need to get rid of items, we're not going to do it. Like, I don't generally have a problem when it comes to returns. Returns, you know, some people do find they got an item and then they go, hang on a second, it's not something I want. I'd rather them actually check first. That's why I always do a double check. I show them loads of photos, I double check if they're happy with the product even before sending it out, because I don't want them to waste any more of my time than they already have. But usually the case is, you know, people go, yeah, I'm happy with that. But I have had a couple of people, you know, querying the item after it's been delivered, and some of them, you know, I've seen people, not myself, but I've seen people actually have sent items out of clothing. They know full well they've used them on a night out, and you know they've worn them, there's marks on them, and then they try and send them back. I think that's really cheeky of them. You know what I mean? This is actually someone's business. For me, it's a bit of a part-time thing, but I know people that sell as their business, as their sort of bread and butter. And for them to do that, and usually Vinted and eBay sort of side with the buyer instead of the seller. So, you know, you lose on multiple things because you've got an item that's been used, and, you know, you lose in the actual sale as well. Speaking about that topic, actually, Vinted and eBay, when it comes to their customer services, it's actually really poor. When you look at it, you know, people are actually selling for a living, and they're selling the product which they've actually posted. I know you do get your scammers and you do get that, but the people who are genuine tend to have an issue when it comes to customer services because they always side with the seller, with the buyer, sorry, not the seller. And it comes really, really hard then when it comes to returns of items when they've been damaged, when they've been used. I always find the customer service is actually quite poor. It's taken me ages to even, you know, get through to it, like, where's my item? For example, I had a video of Yodel losing one of my parcels. Even getting to the start of saying where my parcel was on eBay, I think this was actually, to then going to Yodel and then trying to find the product on there, and then it was just back and forth, and the item wasn't even that valuable, but at the same time it was like I wanted to see it through because it was one of the first things I actually lost. Well, not myself, but the courier. And it sort of put doubts in my head when it came to reselling because it just seems such a palaver. And you know, I was lucky it was a very cheap item, but if it was an expensive item, I'd get properly concerned then. Actually, when it comes to think about it, like, I could add another one in, really, make it 9. But for me, at the moment, eBay is just pushing the goals, the boundaries further and further and further away for not just buyers, actually, can think, because they're doing the same thing as Vinted has, which is the protection fees, which I do get it. But when it comes to the sellers then, we're having double dosage of the buyer wanting to have the price of the item less. They're not taking into account the buyer's protection, so they're thinking that the seller should actually reduce their price further, so then it goes into their bracket, not into our bracket. And then at the same time, then I've read about them, you know, changing the format of the promoted listings. So what they're trying to do is they're trying to get as much blood out of the stone as possible. Vinted, on the other hand, like I said, it's got you know, no fees, but at the same time, if you're a pro seller, your items are not actually sort of listed high. What they do is they tend to go for the private sellers more than the pro sellers, unless you bump them, and then that's like costing you an extra £1 each one, which is usually quite a small sort of, you know, price to pay. But if you've got small items, small ticket items, it's not really worth it. Another one for me, and I know it's probably my fault on this one, but I'm going to put it down as a gripe, as something that does give me a little bit annoyed, and it's the constant deliveries. It's great, I'm selling product, you know, I'm getting profit, I'm getting the items shifted, but at the same time, you've got people going, as soon as they've ordered it, they're like, where's it to, where's it to, where's it to? And it's like, well, hang on a second, I put down at least 3 days before I can deliver it, so I can do it in bulk batches. But at the same time, it does take some couriers a little bit longer than the times they list on, so like every, say, you know, 2 to 3 days, you know, Yodel, 2 to 4 days. Royal Mail's actually pretty good. It's been pretty good for me recently anyway, so I'm not really going to, you know, have any gripes about them. But yeah, people, as soon as they buy, they're like, it's like they need it yesterday, and it actually gets fairly annoying. Like, I've had a lot of people purchase from me and they've been, you know, sound, they've been good as gold, you know what I mean? But some people are just, you know, relentless, and it is hard work, and it does get you down. Speaking actually, when I go back to the underpayers, I've had someone before order an item and then went back to me and said, actually, can I do it for this price? not the price I've already what I've sent you, which you've accepted. And I just think, you know, and that's extremely cheeky. And it's like, well, I'm not going to do that. Either you want the item at the price you set for the price and not try and undercut it again, or I'll just cancel it altogether and I'll block you. It's as simple as that. So the last one is actually not part of the actual selling aspect when it comes to eBay and Vinted and, you know, people purchasing in total. It's a bit of a weird one actually. When you go to charity shops, I hear fairly regular the actual workers and other customers going there and they're proper ripping into resellers, and I don't understand why, because we go in there, we help reduce the stock, as well as, you know, yeah, don't get me wrong, we do sift through the ones which we know are going to actually make profit, but at the same time we're shifting stock for them and we're actually paying the price which they've set. So I don't see the issue. If it's from me, from Adam, from Tony down the road, you know what I mean, we're all using the place, we're all getting rid of the stock for you, and also at the same time we're paying the price that you set. So I just don't understand why there's sort of a hate towards resellers. It baffles me. But anyway guys, thanks for some of your time anyway on this one. I know it's a bit of a downer sort of video, but you know, I'm usually really positive, but this one is one of the ones which has just been niggling away at me for a while. But thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you in the next one.